Welcome everyone, and peace be upon you all. Welcome to today's video. Today's topic is about the importance of seeking therapy and how seeking therapy can actually be a means to one's spiritual growth. The reason why I want to talk about this topic is because I see the role that the stigma we have in the Muslim community towards mental health, I see the role that it plays in not only keeping people from getting the help that they need, but also as a therapist, I see the role that the stigma plays in the therapy room, in the therapy process, for individuals who are in therapy. And so we have to understand the impact that our collective psychology about what therapy is, or our collective views and interpretations and understanding of what therapy is defined as, of what it means for us individually. There's a collective understanding of therapy that has impacted many of us individually, and it impacts the way a person feels when they are seeking therapy and when they are actually in therapy. And so we have to be aware of these influences, and we have to understand that our lack of understanding of what therapy is actually keeps us from getting the help that we need, and also keeps people from understanding that it's very much in line with their spirituality and their relationship with God and Islam's teachings. And so first thing I want to address is that in therapy, what I find a lot of times is that because of the stigma, that a person will feel like they're the broken ones and the therapist is like the fixed, right? There's this idea of what brokenness looks like, and there's this idea of fixed. And because we have, as a community, have made well-being be this state of perfection you arrive at, right? And we do talk about wellness and well-being in such a manner. It's almost like there is broken and then there's fixed that you arrive at, and that's when you, and this is like this is where you have it all together. And we don't really talk about each of us being a work in progress, you know. And I tell my client this all the time. I tell my clients this all the time, is that that there is no brokenness and fixed, you know, that I'm a work in progress just like they are, you know, and we all are a work in progress. And that's really the path that we're on. We're always trying to grow. We're always trying to improve. There is no arrival of this place where we like, yes, I got it now. I got it all together, you know. No, we're always going to be growing through every phase in our life. There's going to be challenges, and there's going to be things that God is teaching us. We're going to feel the sweetness of growth, but we're also going to be entering new phases where it requires us to learn new skills and learn new aspects about ourselves, improve in certain areas. So there isn't this arrival of fixed. Okay, there isn't. And so we're always on the path of improving and empowering ourselves. But I think that this idea of brokenness and fixed, or you know, this rigid understanding of what healing looks like, or what wellness looks like, comes from the stigma that we have about therapy. Because what we tell people, whether directly or indirectly, we tell people, we give people messages that tell them that the reason they need therapy is because Islam's teachings didn't have the effect that it should on them, right? So when people come to therapy, they feel like they are flawed because Islam didn't, because of something wrong within them, they didn't benefit from Islam's teachings, right? Just like the way they should, because they were told to pray on it more, and they still didn't feel good. They were told to fast more, they still didn't feel good, so they feel like, oh, something is wrong with me, and they bring that into therapy, and it plays a huge role, because you cannot shame somebody into improving. Shame does not have a positive effect on a person's ability to change or transform or improve or heal. So we have to stop shaming people into changing, or into transforming, or, you know, we have to stop shaming people. We have to understand there's a difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is when you see wrong in the action. Shame is when you see wrong in you, and you feel that you yourself are flawed. And this is not something we want to promote. You know, we have to, our community spaces should be places where people feel that they can, they feel the spaces, they feel heard and they feel validated, and they feel that there are other people who won't think less of them or make them feel any less for having the problems that they're having. But unfortunately, our community spaces are often the places that people disconnect from when they're struggling, because a lot of times there's a shame promoting culture. We make people feel flawed, and when people come to us with their imperfection, we present Islam's perfection. We talk as Islam. We don't talk as human beings who are practicing Islam, who can hear the individual out first, who can validate the person's experience first before connecting them to God's perfection. You know, we have to use wisdom in the way that we talk to people, and we have to be aware of the shaming messages that we give to people when we say things like, you need to pray on it more. And so, you know, these things have they do a lot more damage than we think. And I think what we need to work on as a community is that we need to work on being bridges between the imperfect human struggle and the perfect words of God. You know, and you know, when someone is going through a lot of pain, presenting them right away with the perfection of God can be an overwhelming experience, especially when we have humanness in us and that human part of them wasn't validated. How can you allow a person to elevate to their spiritual part when you haven't addressed their basic human needs? I mean, this is something that's taught in psychology, is that there's a hierarchy of needs, and you can't just, you know, skip steps and present somebody with spiritual fuel when you haven't provided them with their human fuel. And so this is one aspect that I think contributes a lot, the stigma, it contributes a lot to the way a person feels in the therapy process when they're actually there. They feel inferior and they feel ashamed, and so this plays a role in them actually maximizing the potential of therapy. And so and secondly, I want to define what therapy is, because I think it's our lack of understanding what therapy is that keeps people from therapy. And so therapy is not advice giving. It's not a place you go to seek answers because Islam didn't give you the answers, you know. And this is why, this is another reason there's a stigma, is people think Islam therapy is there to give you answers. So people think, well, Islam has the answers, you know, you don't need to go there for answers. Therapy is not about giving people answers. As therapists, we are there to facilitate a process that promotes one's ability to arrive at their own truth, to arrive at healing themselves. We are there to facilitate a process that empowers the individual to arrive at their own answers. We're not there to give answers. We're not there to tell a person what they should do. And so I believe there's an art to therapy in facilitating a process where that person can feel empowered to figure out their own life. And so it's not advice giving. It's not a quick fix for your problems. And the reason why I'm defining it is because, if you notice, I said it's a process that allows a person to arrive at their truth. Islam is all about connecting people to truth. If we look at the core message of what Islam teaches, it's about connecting people to the truth of who their creator is, to the truth of who they are, to the truth of their purpose in life. It's about to the truth of their intentions. When we do any deed, any action, we are taught to evaluate what is the truth behind this action. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, you know, tells us in the hadith, "Inna al-a'malu bin-niyat." Verily, it is by our actions are by our intentions. That in every action that we're doing, we're taught to connect to the truth of what's going on within us. Why am I doing this? You know, what is going on within me? You know, what is the truth of my intention behind this? And so it's all about connecting people to truth. And in therapy, that's the goal of therapy as well. It's to help people connect to their true self, to the reasons why they're doing certain things. You know, a lot of times people are engaged in behavior that only promotes a lack of mental and emotional well-being. And so as therapists, we help them evaluate, well, what is their intention behind doing these things that aren't helping them feel better? You know, that aren't actually promoting their mental health and their emotional well-being. We help people connect to their values. What are your values? What are your beliefs? You know, and are you connected to the truth of these beliefs? And we encourage people to reevaluate their truth and reconnect to them so that they can have a clearer idea of where they're headed, because you can't know where you're headed if you don't know the truth that exists within you. And healing can only exist within truth, in reality, cannot exist amongst illusion. and connecting to illusion of how our life should be, or what all the things that aren't our beliefs, that aren't like our beliefs about ourselves, or our thoughts or beliefs about ourselves that aren't true. This is all illusion, and when we're connected to these illusions of thoughts or beliefs, it keeps us from healing. So many times people come into therapy and they have these beliefs about themselves, and so we encourage them to reevaluate the authenticity of their beliefs. Where did they arrive at that belief? What evidence do they have that allowed them to come to this conclusion about themselves or their experiences or their worth? And so it's all about connecting people to truth. And so there is no conflict between Islam and seeking therapy. And it actually empowers people. And the thing is, when you connect to truth, you let go of illusion, you let go of things that aren't real for you, that aren't of value for you. You unpack weight that you are carrying. And when you are lighter, it's easier for you to walk towards God. Your vision is cleared. You feel your heart is more open. So it only makes the path towards God easier and more enjoyable, and more sincere, because you're connected to the truth of why you're doing certain things. A lot of times we think we're doing things for God, and then when you connect to the truth of why you're doing them, it has a lot to do, it's more people-centered than God-centered. So this is just a reminder to myself and to you that that we each play a role in tackling the stigma towards therapy in our community. We play a role in the way we respond to people when they come to us with problems. We play a role in the way we talk about therapy, and we play and the stigma, plays a role in us seeking help, the help that we need. And so I encourage you, if you're seeking therapy, or if you're thinking about therapy and you feel like you need it, I encourage you to not let shaitan and other people and our collective understanding of what therapy is keep you from getting the help that you need, keep you from taking the means to growing closer to your Creator and empowering your spiritual growth. And so I encourage you, and if you're looking for a therapist, I encourage you to find a therapist that's the right fit for you. It's really important for you to find a therapist that you feel comfortable with. This is a sacred journey. It's a sacred space. This is where you unpack your most vulnerable pieces. Make sure that it's the right person that you feel comfortable with. It's very normal for people to see a therapist and not feel comfortable, to try a few therapists before they find the one that they feel matches, that they feel is a good fit for them. It's the person's very important as well. So yeah, so I hope this was a beneficial reminder, and thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum.